Strategy and Planning from the Field, an Alternative Methodology. We present a study developed at the Research Center CITAD of Lisbon, exploring a field-based approach to planning involving local players. Our main focus is local identity, basing on heritage, culture and balance between man, occupation and nature. With this idea of involving local communities, the goal is to compensate and overcome the distanced perspective of the standard planning system, which prioritizes generic aspects such as infrastructure and transport, and tends to promote disruptive solutions and to disregard local impacts, leading to abrupt transformations that impose on the environment. Planning from the field is based on performing on-site analysis, identifying values and constraints in dialogue with local players and population, devising strategies basing on that direct knowledge. We present here in a synthesis 3 case studies in different stages of implementation, showing distant situations in which this methodology is tested.
Identity and local values. Sobolais Retacho, the first case study, is a textile industry cluster in a rural environment in inland Portugal near the city of Castelo Branco. An industrial pole that flourished in the 1950s, since 1985 its activity had a continuous decay, leading to a demographic decrease and to urban degradation with deserted industry facilities and abandoned housing. A CITAD multidisciplinary team studied this territory, identifying its fragilities and potential, together with the remaining population, focusing on the possibilities of regeneration. The approach, based on several activities and events, involving the residents as well as outsiders like architecture students and teachers, an open class entitled Factories Are Open, a workshop in city and territory, and a creative assault named Lançarte. These events made possible the reuse of some of the abandoned buildings and spaces and showed the community, most of the people with a background related to these industries, the value of their history and legacy of life. It also alerted local administration for the specificity of this place and the value of its past, which resulted in the project of creating a local museum. The Mutex Textile Museum was the result of this intense and concentrated planning process. It occupies one of the old industrial facilities, which was rehabilitated and still exhibits its machinery. It is open to the public and develops activities together with the population and constitutes an instrument of local development and attraction in that territory. In a second case study, the Tagus Estuary, various specific sites have been focused with an identical methodology, like Trafaria, Forte da Casa, and Alborrica. The estuarine territory around the Tagus is a broad and diverse landscape composed of many different spaces, which include cities like Lisbon and Almada, portuary facilities, suburban sprawl, rural areas, and nature reserve. Its planning is mainly handled according to administrative limits, often with no regard to local differences and identities. Understanding these local identities and their potential for development within a complementarity network of different and specific spaces was the core of the studies. In Trafaria, it was proposed the rehabilitation of an old asylum and penitentiary, being presented students' designs and ideas, the creation of a new cultural walk path through the South Bank, Quintas, or ancient villas, was another proposition that the municipality considered and is presently studying. At Forte da Casa, after identifying the territorial barrier created by the railway, an overpass was suggested, for which a design competition was held, leading to the construction of a passage that minimized that constraint. In Alborrica, the estuarine waterfront of Barreiro, important lessons from ancient occupation were identified, like the use of proto-industries such as tidal mills and windmills, in a balanced relation with the environment and the unveiling of the history of Quinta Brancamp, one of the Tagus Quintas de Recreio, which led to the acquisition by the municipality of these abandoned sites in a process that still awaits its completion. A third case study is now beginning, Fonte Longa, in Poiás municipality, near the city of Coimbra, in which large-scale wildfires recently outlined a desertification problem. This case is now being studied, identifying the values, traditions, and practices that form the cultural and social identity of the place and its community, in order to delineate strategies for sustainable occupation that can manage the threat of large-scale forest fires and to thwart desertification.
Our findings thought as complement to the planning system, since it has itself its limitations. This from the field methodology is being tested with the goal of implementation, more informed and effective planning. This experiment shows some positive results, leading the administration to some successful outcomes, although being conditioned by the responsiveness of administration, player and other entities. The continuing of these studies may, in the future, enable more comprehensive conclusions and possibly achieve broader exposure and awareness, contributing to their effectiveness. Thank you for your attention.